Alright, go ahead, listen.
Okay, so what's my thing?
Oh, damn, this is so much work.
It looks like he was actually doing
Yo,
It's what?
He's right there,
Yeah, Eliza.
Oh, you there? Yeah, I'm going to take an AP out.
Yes. Look at that.
Eliza?
I balance it.
Yeah, he's our friend's brother.
Oh, really? Next Thursday.
Thursday.
Next
I'll be here Monday,
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
You said you're gonna be here yesterday, but you're not here.
I said no. I said I wasn't gonna come today. I was gonna come today, but I'm going to eat. I'll be over there.
I'll go.
At that time, I'll come.
Wait till I get my money.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about complete a square. So we're gonna start with the yes race question. So we're gonna, where's my rug? Okay, so we're gonna talk about completing the square. Completing the square is a very important technique for a lot of you guys. So we're gonna talk about those. So we start with the yes race question. And the yes race question was, I think it's negative 2x, right? Negative 2x, 4, and then 6, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm remember this now.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about completing the square. This one's a little bit hard. So pay attention the details. So here's the step of completing the square. It's a parenthesis the first two terms. Parenthesis the first two terms. So what are the two terms?
2x squared minus 4.
So we're gonna parenthesis those two terms. Okay, so factor out the leading coefficient, but not factoring out the x. You can factor out x, but you don't try to factor out x. Leading coefficient is the constant, which is just the negative 2. I can factor out outside the parenthesis here, so that's gonna say y is equal to negative 2. If I factor out, what do I have left?
X plus
X,
x
y.
squared
X squared
plus 2
plus 2
x.
plus 2x. Are we okay here? Because basically I just take this term divided by negative 2, so I can factor out. So when I factor out negative 2, I just divide this by negative 2. I'll divide this by negative 2, it's going to be what? 2x. Danny, are you following me?
Yeah, I'm reading right now. So,
And I'm going to leave some space here, and we're going to talk about those space, what it was used for. So the whole idea is to get into the vertex form. So our angle is going to be something like this. Okay, our angle is going to become this, so we can actually graph it. We already know the answer over on the other side, but we're going to try with this question. We'll do a different way to do it. Instead of using axis symmetry, I can use this way, and I feel like sometimes this way is faster. So now I take out negative 2, I leave some space. Now let's talk about this third part. The third part, usually I remember as b over 2 squared. So middle, which is the 2, divided by 2, always 2. Divided by 2, always 2, always. Okay, you always divide by 2, and square the whole thing.
By 2, right?
Yeah, you divide it by 2 and square the whole thing. So I'm going to take this value, which is 2. Are we okay here? We're going to divide it by 2, and then we're going to square.
so it'll be 1.
It'll be 1, now, although you say 1 square is 1, but I still write it out. I still write out 1 square because I'm going to use this different color to show you that 1 is going to come in handy later, because that 1 is going to become very, very useful later. So 1 square is 1. Although I still show you like the step here because that's important. Now I'm going to say is I'm going to add this to here. Okay, I'm going to add this 1 here. Okay, so I'm gonna add 1 here. We're gonna use the purple part. Add 1 here. Now here's the things I'm gonna look at this. Nick, pay attention. If I'm adding 1, this part is very complicated, so I need you to bear with me. This is like a right side of seesaw. This is the left side of seesaw. Okay? So again, this is me versus you. That says quiz is on the other side, and this is me. Y stands for yeah, right? And this is a quiz. And then so, but I'm gonna add 1 on the that side. Okay? But am I really, now let's look at it. Look at this equation. Am I really adding 1 on the right side? What did I do to the right side?
Wait, what was the question again?
I say, I just put +1 here. But am I really adding 1 to the right side?
No.
What do I do?
Equal. Minus it.
You're trying to balance it, aren't
Yeah, we're trying to balance, but let's pay attention. This is a +1, but am I really +1 to the right side?
You're substituting.
I'm not substituting something.
You're plussing
added
to
the
the left
six.
side.
I'm not adding the 6.
You're, because of multiplying?
Am I adding 1 on the right side?
No,
you? Are you adding on both sides?
because it's not on the right side, it's in the parentheses.
Well, the print, all this is the right side, so this part is all right
Yeah,
side.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm adding 1 to the right side?
Yes. No.
You're taking away one to the
I
right
didn't say
side.
no.
Yeah.
Taking away how many?
One.
No.
Oh, yeah.
2,
2, why 2?
because it's B, or, yeah.
No, it's not because of B.
Because of A?
Because of C?
It's the A. You look at here, right? So let's look at the part, which part are we doing here? We're gonna use this color to show you. We always look at this +1, but we have to make sure the coefficient is correct. The coefficient says -2. Technically, I'm not adding 1. I'm actually subtracting 2 on the right side. So my net loss is -2.
So then you would take away the -2 from +3?
You multiply it.
Oh.
Because I'm distributing. Just imagine that -2 is distributed to everything term inside, right?
Everything?
Yeah, if I have -2 is distribute everything
So you're gonna
inside. So I'm
distribute
actually
everything?
subtracting 2. I'm not adding 1.
Oh, okay. I have a question.
So are you gonna distribute everything or?
No, we're not distributing. So we're gonna, don't misunderstand me. I just want you to show you, I'm not really adding 1 here. I'm actually subtracting 2 on the right side. Because the -2 distributed is actually -2. You think about it, -2 is gonna be the one that you are subtracting on the right side.
So it's not actually 1,
It's not actually 1.
but it's just like 1.
It's not 1, it's actually subtracting 2.
Okay.
Yes.
So like, if it was like -3, you'd be subtracting 3. But
If it's a -3, it's gonna be net gain 6. So if this is +3, then you have +3, -6. Okay? So now you can add 1, and it's gonna be multiplied to -2, so you actually have a net loss of 2. So imagine me and Quiz. So Quiz, get back on. Right? So now, we balance. We just find out what actually happened to Chris. I take a knife, I chop his arm off. I throw it on the ground. And what happened is, he become lighter, I become more heavier. Does that make sense? And I was like, no, that's not balance anymore. So what I do is I take the arm back and I sew it back. And let's go back to balance. So the whole thing is trying to create a balance that happen. So when a balance that happen is,
Well, you think you're saying something?
so you're subtracting 2, so again, chop his arm off, subtracting 2, and become more heavier. Now I say, no, that's not okay. I need to balance it, so I need to sew the arm back to make sure the thing's balanced. Now we balance it, we say, okay, now we're okay. Okay, so we try to make an equation go back to original state as much as I can. So let's get off. Thank you, so I can switch back. So now, I'm actually subtracting,
That was the airplane.
I'm subtracting 2 on this side, right? So that means I need to do something to the back. The back, we're gonna put it on back to him. We had to say, okay, if it's net loss 2, that's okay. We just put it back, plus 2.
What?
So now I'm gonna have a new equation, says y equal to -2 times x squared plus 2x plus 1 and plus 6 and then plus 2. I just rewrite it to show you what actually happened. So this plus 1 here is -2, right? And this one is plus 2. So plus 2 and -2 go to 0. So now I can factor this because we try to change to this form. Our goal is to factor this and to get to the first form. Now I can use a box method, which is kind of tedious, but it's not important, not needed. I'm going to show you a trick to do it though. X squared plus 1, that's 2x, that's going to be x, 1, 1, that's x. So now I say that's same thing as x plus 1, but here I'm going to show you a trick. That 1 come into handy. That 1 is going to tell me something right away. X squared plus 8, okay? So what I do is, I'm going to take that 1, I don't even need to know how to factor this. I can take that 1 here, I can put it right here, plus 1. And I'm done. I just changed to a vertex form. I just changed to my angle as this.
Yeah, I noticed that. I
I
noticed it
think
when
I'm
like I was.
Okay, I gotta wait. Let me take a moment.
So I just did that because I didn't know how to do that.
Okay?
Wait, good.
So what I want you to do is I want you to do 2 questions. Those are the 2 questions I want to do. I will rewrite it here on this side. So the first example, and you can do one that's a little bit, A is going to be y is equal to 3x squared minus 12x minus 15. And the B is y equal to -2x squared minus ax plus 1. Okay? So we want to try both of them. I want to convert to vertex form. So we want to convert vertex form. Convert to vertex form using complete the square. Using complete the square. Now, to understand, sometimes you do have a net loss. Sometimes you do have a net gain. Sometimes you do have a -2 here. Sometimes you do have +2 here. Well, whatever. But you always take account into the coefficient. A lot of time coefficient is 1. So once you get that first question, and I want you to check with me. If you got it right, then you can teach another student. If you got it wrong, then go keep on fixing it until you get it right. Sometimes you do have a net gain, sometimes you do have a net loss, but you need a balance. Net gain with a net loss, or net loss with a net gain. You cut off their arm and put the arm back, or give him extra arm and take it off. Pretty much that's the way idea is. But all the operations to the right side.
What does it say for step 2?
Step 2 is a factor leading coefficients. And step 3 is the middle divided by 2 and square the whole thing. Find a way to balance on the left side after you add a number from number 3. So you add a number in there, usually always adding, so now it's subtracting. Can you finish one question before we go? No.
Oh.
So think about it. Am I really adding 4 on the right side? You have to have y equal to.
Oh.
Am I really adding 4?
No.
So it's what? 4.
Is the 3 still be there? Or is it?
3 still there? No, we're not adding 4. We're adding 4 here. But am I adding 4? That's what I'm saying. I'm adding this 4, right? Essentially, you have to take account of the coefficients, right?
Mr. Come on here. Oh,
You're not really adding 4. You're adding what? No. 12. Good.
But that's what I did.
But wait,
So I put 12 on the top here?
Mister.
Why 12 there?
Plus 12.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Listen.
That was wrong.
Because, good, look, pay attention to details. No. And here it's fine, erase this part.
Oh, I get it.
This one here?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm adding 4 on this side, right? Now erase the 3 there.
Oh, 'cause I got 3.
Yeah, not there. Erase.
This one.
Oh, no.
Wait, so I think I got them though.
Okay, so I'm adding 4 to the right side or not? What am I adding? See, over there it is.
What do I do with it?
Okay, so write down the plus 12 on the top.
Mister, is it like this?
I got it. Or I got it. Minus 15, write down minus.
It's minus 12, right?
What do you have?
It's minus 12, right?
No, you have a net gain here. What are you supposed to have to minus?
And then what do I do with the plus 12 on the top?
Huh?
What do I do with the plus 12?
Just understand you didn't really add 4. You add this 3 times 4.
So that's the answer.
Now you gotta factor this and then simplify this. You're gonna get a
So
square.
that's the answer.
Wait.
Yes.
Why is it?
Sweet.
Damn.
Help somebody.
Alright, then y'all.
No, this is wrong.
That is rather simple.
I like, look, I'm stuck.
Oh,
No, this one's right. Yeah, plus 4. Am I really adding 4 to the right side? No, no, you got it.
Negative 2.
So am I really adding 4? Where you factor it out? No. No, it's not minus 3 either.
Basically,
You plus 4, so, but you gotta think about the leading coefficient. Huh? Minus what? So think about it, here, if you have add 4, right? And then you have to look at the coefficient, what is the coefficient? So am I really adding 4?
For 4B?
If I adding 4, so how do I get back to minus here? Plus 12, no, that's not make it happy. Minus 4 is good. And then factor this. And then I told you there's no, you don't need a factor, and you can just take that number, whatever that 1 here, I can install it here. If it's positive, it's gonna be positive
You're
here.
not really adding.
So it'd be -2. So
X.
X plus
Minus 2.
You got it here, but now on this side, you got it subtractable, because you got to cancel it out.
Square?
squared
Four.
It's hard to explain, but like, you get it?
That's it? That's it?
Oh, God. What's going on with that?
Okay, try the second one. If you gotta help somebody, it's try the second one. That's not plus 4. If you factor this, it's not plus 4. No, it's not minus 4 either. So use this number. 2 is actually negative. Guys, the number here can be used, just go back here, adding here 1 and 1 here.
Wait, yeah, how do you find that? How do you find the B that you have to use?
B is right here, this is the middle term, which is here after you factor out a leading coefficient, that's the 2. I put a 2 here, right? 2 divided by 2,
Wait, so
you got it?
for A, it would be -4.
Huh?
For A, it would be -4.
We
Like
get
you plug
For
in
the
-4
exercise
square.
letter.
Yes.
I got it.
That?
Negative 4, yes. After you factor out 3 is negative 4.
I'm gonna do the second one now.
-4.
Where's the pass?
Yeah, so now you just put a negative 2 right here, and you're done. Now 4, you just always, you can see that sign, it's a remove. You don't need a factor, if you use a box right here, you find out the square. So now, you gotta think about it. Now try the second one.
Adding 6 is.
Is number 2
So it's doing adding 12.
Yeah.
This way, it's just
Yeah, you're missing a square sign, that's it. Because the factor that is a square. Can you help?
Yes, I don't understand.
Okay, let me help him so he can explain to
Okay.
you. It's not really add 12 here. Let's take this term divided by 2. How to say divide in Spanish?
Divide.
Divide. Divide dos. And square. What do I say square?
Este,
Huh?
al cuadrado.
A cuadrado.
Ajá.
A cuadrado. So -4, and then divided by 2 square. So that's equal to -2 square because -4 divided by 2. That's equal to 4. So I'm adding 4.
Oh, okay.
But not really adding 4 because you have to take account 3 times 4 is adding 12.
It's 12.
So now here is supposed to be -12. Because you add 12, you add a -12. Kind of like in the chemistry too. Like you add 12 in order to balance the equation, you had the +12, -12. Now you get 3 times x squared minus 4x plus 4 minus 15 minus 12. Now factor this. Okay, but factor is easy. It's gonna be, you don't need to do this, right?
Yeah, you don't use this.
But this is too much trouble. -2, -2, so it'll be x minus 2. But I can actually use this.
That makes it even better. Until we get our homework ends.
And that's it, done.
Call you?
That's a vertex form.
So you add.
Can you help them?
The robot.
Let me see.
Would you do this one back? Now you just gotta do the
Yeah,
same thing
do
with
you like
this
renewing
one.
me with context and a haircut?
Yes, that's correct. So help them both.
Okay. When okay,
Michael, you helping them?
Right, because it's the number that he gave me.
Okay.
And then what I have to, like, I write the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have to do these?
Huh? Yeah, do the second one. I'll give you another one, just make sure you guys get good at it.
Okay, so
You know, we have to multiply this number with this one. So it will be 3.
No, okay, there we go.
That's 12. So it'll be plus 12.
So you can try the second, you can try the third one if you want. Just get, make sure you get good at it.
What's the opposite? Oh, okay. Yeah. So then, -15 minus 12 will equal -27.
You got a second one?
Yeah, I got
You wanna try the harder one?
Sure. Oh, God. Okay,
The
what else?
harder ones are a fraction,
Negative
okay?
12.
I think you got it.
So now we have to get into the
What?
specific
Oh,
format.
wait, I think I did
Go
these
with
before.
the y
Okay, I got
equals
this.
a
I haven't tried
parentheses
that.
x minus h squared plus.
Mhm.
Okay,
Whoa.
so
Oh, so
Uh-huh.
we have,
There's no, okay, yeah.
Yep.
3
that would be
We just do this for
2, right?
x minus 2.
Right.
Oh, minus 2.
Wow.
Yeah, and then-
Yeah, that's it, that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I got 2x.
You Beth can help out.
Oh, wow, my God, you actually did it to me. I'm doing this right?
You're doing great.
How much chops do you use?
Good.
Right?
Okay, now, factor the dots.
Back this out.
You're halfway there.
Back
Factor
out,
that.
it.
What's the answer for B?
Almost okay, let me just, you're right.
Check with Jaden. Jaden, can you help him out?
Come on, man.
What's the answer?
Jaden? Finish one more question.
Esa es la que estoy haciendo.
What would be a factor of that? Look at what inside of parentheses, it's gonna help you right away.
So box it.
You get the rest of that, but you're gonna find out some shortcut.
What the hell?
Thanks.
Dude, really? I'm doing the thing. I need some more space.
Try the next question, I put a C over there.
Oh, no, you did exactly what I did.
Okay, now I'm stuck. I actually don't know what to do. Do you know what to do?
Of course I know what I did.
Okay.
You didn't look at the shortcut.
Oh my god. And I remember. Why didn't you tell me? It's a vertex field, right? Like the must be in 2A thing.
It should be plus 2.
Okay, I'm going with that. Now I remember.
Yeah, that's it.
You would know. You're not subtracting 4.
Sure.
Exactly. So you're still at the subtract.
Well, you should.
I think I got
¿Cuánto te
it.
dio el B?
Menos 2 paréntesis x menos 2 al cuadrado más
¿Menos o más?
menos.
Is this
¿Por
right?
qué? ¿Cuánto necesitas?
Ay, me
Come
lo
on.
mando.
Minus 5.
Porque todos son positivos.
Oh. Okay, I took that first, so yeah.
5 over 2.
I know.
Shortcut right here.
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
Look at that shortcut. If you think about it, if I
Not
go to
yet.
a box, right, x squared, and this one's 25 over 4, right?
Yeah.
And this one's negative.
Someone's
5,
watching you.
So that's x, and x is right.
Really?
Yeah.
Right?
Someone's on it.
That's gonna be 5 over 2x.
Oh, now I get it, now I get it.
5
No.
over 2x. Right, 5 over 2x plus 5 over 2x is 95.
I was thinking like you see multiply.
So why can't I just
You
use
can't see
this?
what's on it,
That's what I'm saying, use this shortcut. It's
Oh.
faster.
So I got this part right here, right?
Oh yeah, that part's no problem, that part's just
Yeah, that was a hard one. I should have known that one.
Yeah, no, you're a good job.
Oh, hey, you need help?
I did B.
B, what'd you get?
This is a different problem.
Oh, so like you solved for missing a square.
Close subtract negative 4.
Yeah, everything's good.
Like, hey, Danny, we actually have a hard one now. Try to help me, please. So wait, you sure he said that?
You about this still confused?
Oh, no, I'm fine.
Not supposed to be 6. Oh, wait, yeah. Okay, what am I doing? Yeah, you're right. What am I doing today?
Okay, I'll show you a fraction one.
That I already did?
No, fraction size is easy. So here's a fraction one, so it's gonna be y equal to x squared minus 5x minus 7. So here is, I'm still parentheses the first two terms. It's not that bad actually, it's very easy.
Yeah, I know.
You parentheses the first two terms. There is no leading coefficient you can factor out. You can factor out 1 if you want to. So that's gonna be x squared minus 5x and then minus 7. So what I'm gonna do is take the middle term, divided by 2, divided by 2, right? Just over 2, right?
Yeah, but like, how do we, oh, okay.
And then parenthesis and the square. Do you see that?
Yeah.
What's negative 5 squared?
Shortcut. What was that?
So I can add 25 over 4, right? So I'm gonna subtract 25 over 4.
But 125 over 4.
I already did, like on the board.
Porque es uno.
And then what?
Okay, so it's not hard. So now it's 25 over 4 and 25 over 4, and you say, okay, let's factor this, but that's much more too hard to factor. I'll show you the factor. The factor is going to be here, x squared, but don't do it this way. I'm going to show you the shortcut. So once I to show you this, so that's going to be 5x negative. So it'll be x times x. Well, what times what equal to 25 over 4? Well, 5 over 2, right? And they're both negative, so that's going to be negative 5 over 2x, negative 5 over 2x. But negative 5 over 2 is going to be negative 10 over 2, which is negative 5x. So then, hey, I'll show you a shortcut here. Look at the shortcut. It's negative 5 over 2. I'm going to write it in green. So I can factor this by looking at this. So I say, okay, I'll just take that number. And I'm gonna take that number, I'm gonna take that as a -5/2. And then, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna square it. I'm gonna do this one, it's gonna be 28, so it's gonna be 28 over 4 minus 25 over 4. So that's equal to x minus 5/2 squared minus 30,
Just in time, bud.
53 over 4.
Wait, what?
I just combined like them.
What the ball?
So those are harder ones. Those are the one that the pre-cal is supposed to cover, but most of the pre-cal students cannot handle it. But it might.
That was actually easy, now I think about it.
No, it's not hard. It's just whether you believe or not. A lot of time that you guys spend a lot of time like disbelieving yourself. Just say, I can do it. Andre had that problem. It's too hard. I can do it.
Yeah, I have.
This is like, and your mind starts shutting off.
I don't, it's just that when I look at it, it's like, holy shit.
It's cause, yeah, I'm too lazy, it's like a lot. Like if I don't, it's cause like if I don't understand something right away, I'm not.
Well, the problem is your mind can only extend as much as you believe. So if you have to believe, if you have to extend all the way, you have to believe all the way. Believe that I can do it. No, it's already done.
Make sure to like and subscribe down below. Let's go, Dane.
Okay.